Hello, Pacific Palisades residents, and thank you for joining this evening. This is a webinar hosted by the Office of Mayor Karen Bass and the mayor herself, LA Strong, Return and Rebuild. Today, we will be keeping our webinar very brief, 5 to 5:30, out of respect for the Pacific Palisades Community Council. They will be hosting their meeting shortly at 6 p.m., and we know that many of you will be tuning in to that meeting as well. Mayor Bass will share one of the special guests that will be participating. At this point in time, we wanted to make sure that everybody knows that we do have a Q&A function at the bottom of your Zoom screens. You can go ahead and click on that Q&A function if you have a question. We will be providing key updates today on mudslides, on PCH, on ongoing restricted access to the Palisades, and more. We'll go ahead and get started in just a few minutes as we wait for many of your neighbors and colleagues to join us. Just a couple more minutes. I see the numbers keep climbing here. We have about 400 people on so far. All right, and I also want to make sure that everybody knows that American Sign Language, interpretation, and closed captioning are available. To view the ASL interpretation, click the interpretation icon in the meeting controls and select ASL. To view closed captioning, please click the link that you see in your chat, and you may be able to see the closed captioning after a brief delay. Again, if you need ASL interpretation, please click the interpretation icon in the meeting controls and select ASL. If you would like closed captioning, please use the link that is in your chat and wait a brief moment and the closed captioning will begin. And with that, I think we have critical mass. Mayor Bass, going to go ahead and pass the mic to you.
Yes, good evening, everyone. And as Ginny Delwood said, we're going to keep this short because I know you have another Zoom or webinar in the community meeting, and I know you will be joined by our Chief Recovery Officer, Stephen Soberoff, from the Palisades, who has taken on the wonderful task of making sure that we get Palisades Village up and running to help with the restoration, the rebuilding of the Palisades. So, of course, public safety is always number one in my mind. And you know that last weekend, we worked with our state and local partners on a solution that would allow the checkpoints to remain in place and also restore LAPD to be able to address citywide issues. So the LAPD had been on a tactical alert since January 7th, which meant that unless you had a critical issue, violent crime or something like that, LAPD was not able to go to those calls. So we were able to solve that, and I hope that everybody in the Palisades continues to feel safe. So right now, the checkpoints remain in place, and the Palisades is only open to residents and their authorized contractors. So we want to thank the governor, the CHP, and the National Guard. We were very, very lucky to get that level of support from the state. And as we continue to make adjustments to the rebuilding process, we always want to make it easier for you. So we've opened 2 new access points for past distribution centers for residents and contractors at the Disaster Recovery Center at Westwood and Pico, and at the West LA Civic Center near the 405 and Santa Monica. And I just have to tell you, I hope that many of you have had an opportunity to visit the Disaster Resource Center. We have been able to address and help over 5,000 people. So my office has also made it so contractors no longer have to renew their pass every day. Like resident passes, they just have to have it done once. And as we've said, of course, in every aspect, we want to expedite the rebuilding process as soon as possible. I mean, as fast as possible. And there's more to come on that because we hope to open up the one-stop center next week, and we'll go into that in great detail. So we've also launched an online tool so you can get whatever help you need. The new Disaster Relief Navigator is at lacity.gov, identifies individual resources, and creates a personalized action plan. So please check it out at lacity.gov. And then on Thursday at 11 a.m., my Office of Business and Economic Development is hosting a small business wildfire recovery webinar. So if you are a business owner or an impacted worker, I encourage you to tune in. Now, let me introduce someone that doesn't need an introduction, your Councilwoman, Tracy Park.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. And thank you for continuing to host these town halls, which really are, I think, very helpful to give our community and constituents in the Pacific Palisades more updates and opportunity to ask questions and hopefully get answers to their many questions. I just wanted to take a minute to note that today marks 4 weeks exactly since the devastating fires took our Palisades and turned all of our lives upside down. Yes, it is a huge relief that at this point the fires are 100% contained and that the Palisades have been reopened to the residents and their contractors and those that have a legitimate work reason to be there. But I do know that the process to get here has been at times awkward and clunky and confusing, but really want to say thank you to so many Palisadians for their patience and their grace and bearing with us as we have gotten through some of these challenges. Your support and partnership has really been nothing short of remarkable, and it makes me incredibly proud as your council member to be your elected representative. As you all know, we are expecting rain over the next several days. And so, as you probably heard earlier today, PCH is going to be closed between Chautauqua and Carbon Beach. Even though we've allowed residents and contractors to come through, I just do want to offer a word of caution. If you can, stay out of the area and off the roads until the storms pass. There's obviously heightened risk of mudslides and debris flow. This is a burn scar that is 3 times the size of Manhattan, and burn scars do not absorb water at the normal rate. We already know that we have a lot of these issues in the Palisades area. So just for everyone's safety, we ask that you try to stay out of the area until after the storm is over. We wanted to also let you know that city crews have been deployed throughout the area, putting up K-rail and sandbags based on their geotechnical assessments of risk areas and vulnerabilities in the area. So really want to thank LA Sand, Bureau of Engineering, Streets LA, Bureau of Street Lighting, Contract Administration, and DOT for the just absolutely remarkable efforts that they have been doing to make the community safe and secure. This is, the beginning still of the work here. The amount that has been accomplished in 4 short weeks is pretty remarkable. I mean, from the amount of downed trees and power lines and broken pipes and nails and rubble in streets and sidewalks and roadways, just already what has been done to get the area safe enough to even reopen to residents has been remarkable. So Mayor Bass, thank you again for these opportunities to keep our constituents and our residents updated and giving us opportunities to get answers to our many, many questions. Thank you so much.
Absolutely. Always there for you. So let's just go into a few slides. And I do want to tell you that we are developing a frequently asked questions that we will be sending out to you. So I know we don't have much time today, and anything that we are not able to get to you, we will send to you in writing. Next slide. So this is just an overview. So what we're going to talk about quickly is the passes, preparing for the rain, Caltrans, PCH closure, and then also getting information from public health. A lot of concerns about public health, as there should be. Next slide. So just in terms of the resident and contractor passes, again, I mentioned in my opening that there's now 2 locations from 10 a.m. to 5 p.m. and the locations are listed there, the Disaster Recovery Center and the West LA Civic Center, so that if you have a pass as a resident, it's no longer going to expire. The contractors, though, do have to say who they work for. And again, we want to have it so that the contractors do not have to get daily passes. And the passes are issued per vehicle. Crew members who are arriving in a separate vehicle also must obtain their separate pass. Preparing for the rain. Well, rain was predicted today. It still might be there. They're talking about rain possibly at 10 o'clock tonight. I did get a report from the National Weather Service on Sunday, though, and this rain is supposed to be light, but we know because of the hillsides and the Palisades, even light rain could be problematic. So you can see that over 6,000 sandbags have been placed and that debris has been cleaned from almost 4 miles, and that there are the concrete barriers that are also called K-rails are up, and that we have tarps placed on vulnerable hillsides. So based on the latest weather report, which I got about an hour ago, now it's predicted that the rains will begin tonight at 10 o'clock and go through tomorrow. But at least when I talked to the gentleman from the National Weather Service, this month as a whole will be okay. They're not expecting any major weather events this month. And after this week, there might be light rain before the month is over, but basically we are not expecting any major weather events for the month of February, and thank goodness. The other thing that I want to mention before we move to the next slide and Caltrans comes on is that we are going to be going into much more detail in terms of what has been done, the firm that we'll be using, and what we see moving forward in the next couple of days. So we will be looking forward to providing you much more information in a subsequent webinar. This one we wanted to keep quick, knowing that you have the community meeting in a few minutes. Caltrans?
Good evening, Palisades community, and I've got to say, as a fellow Bass mayor, it's an honor to follow you. My name is Nathan Bass from Caltrans District 7. We manage the state. Yeah, maybe. We manage the state highway system throughout LA and Ventura counties. I'm a public information officer with the district. I'm here to report that today at 3 p.m., out of an abundance of caution and in coordination with the LA County Public Works Department, Caltrans closed an 8.5 mile stretch of Pacific Coast Highway between Chautauqua Boulevard and Los Angeles to Carbon Beach Terrace in Malibu. The state route is threatened by potential mud and debris flows triggered by the rainstorms forecasted for the area. As stated, the burn-scarred areas throughout the canyons and the slopes above PCH are at increased risk of mud flows now that vegetation is burned away and soil was softened by the fire. Additionally, debris basins, which would typically catch and prevent storm debris from flowing into the canyons, as well as other drainage facilities, could be overwhelmed quickly in the situation of rain flow over the burn-scarred areas. Water and debris could therefore flow over and onto the roadway, endangering motorists and residents. Only essential recovery, utility, and emergency response workers will be allowed in the closure. Palisades, as stated, Palisades residents will be allowed into the area with passes via Chautauqua Boulevard. And this closure will remain in place until Caltrans geotechnical engineers assess and approve the roadway to be open. The first reassessment will take place on Friday to determine whether or not the highway can be safely open to all motorists. Until that point, Caltrans will be working vigorously to protect the roadway. In anticipation of the incoming rain, Caltrans electrical crews have ensured that pump stations are operating at full functionality, and we will do our best to protect the roadway and the state highway system throughout this rain event. Thank you.
Thank you, Nathan. Now we're going to introduce LA County Public Health, Dr. Mahajan.
Good evening, Palisades community. This is Dr. Anish Mahajan, Chief Deputy Director at LA County Public Health. I want to just quickly start by thanking Mayor Bass, Council Member Park, and Supervisor Lindsay Horvath for their leadership and dedication to ensure that communities like the Palisades receive the resources that they need and the support that they need as they recover. We know that returning home after a wildfire can be overwhelming. Many of you are eager to get back, but it's also critical to understand the potential health risks that exist after in fire-affected areas. Fires, of course, don't just burn structures, they create hazardous debris, airborne particles like ash, soot, and smoke residue. These materials can contain dangerous materials like lead and arsenic, heavy metals that can pose health risks, especially for children, older adults, and those with respiratory conditions. So even if your home wasn't directly damaged, exposure to fine particles from the surrounding area can still affect indoor air quality and personal health. For residents whose homes were damaged and burned, you already know that the debris removal process is happening in 2 distinct phases with a specific timeline and process. Phase 1 is already underway, expected to be completed within 30 days, but phase 2 will start after that. During these processes, if you live near a burned property, we strongly recommend limiting outdoor activity while hazardous materials are being removed. Additionally, if your home is near an area with significant fire debris or burned buildings, it may be advisable to delay your return until after fire debris has been removed, as removal activities can stir up ash and soot that affect air quality. While steps are being taken to mitigate these risks as they're removing these materials, staying out of the area could be the safest option, particularly if you're young or elderly. Once it is safe to return, it's important to take a few precautionary steps to ensure your home is free from harmful fire-related contaminants. Before settling back in, take the time to assess your home for soot, ash, and smoke contamination. If you do not see any visible soot or ash on surfaces, or you don't smell any smoke indoors, your home is likely safe for re-entry. But if you do notice soot or ash, you can conduct a simple wipe test on windowsills or walls. Take a damp cloth, and if residue appears on that damp cloth, then you know additional cleaning is necessary. If you experience ongoing indoor smoke odors, it may indicate deeper contamination that requires more thorough cleaning or professional remediation. If your home has been affected by ash or smoke, it's essential to clean safely. Protect yourself, wear an N95 mask, gloves, long sleeves, pants, goggles. The Department of Public Health is providing this PPE at a variety of locations, including the disaster resource centers. You want to avoid dry sweeping. You want to do wet cleanup. You want to gently hose down patios, furniture, and windows to prevent any ash from becoming airborne. You want to clean your indoor surfaces using damp cloths to wipe down the walls, furniture, and high contact areas. And finally, you want to dispose of the ash properly, collect it in sealed bags, and place it in covered trash bins. If your home has significant soot, smoke damage, or lingering odors, you may need professional assessment. Think about looking for a contractor. You can contact your insurance provider who may have recommended vendors. You want to ensure that the contractor is licensed and insured. And you want to request references and verify credentials of those contractors with the Institute of Inspection, Cleaning, and Restoration Certification Group. We have more information about this on our website, also available at recovery.lacounty.gov, as well as at publichealth.lacounty.gov. If you have specific concerns about air quality or exposure risks, you can contact one of our environmental health specialists at 626-430-9821. That number is also available online. Finally, as you move back into your neighborhoods and your homes, monitor for health symptoms that may be related to lingering contaminants, such as coughing or throat irritation, eye discomfort or headaches, worsening asthma or breathing difficulties. If you experience any of these, please see your healthcare provider. We want residents to feel supported as they navigate this process. This is a very difficult time. Please feel free to reach out to us in public health or to any of the jurisdictions here if you have questions. Thank you. I'll turn it back over.
Thank you so much, Doctor. Now we're going to go to Q&A from our participants, and we can go ahead and take down that slide, and we may have some of our experts come back on video. We will go ahead and go to a couple of questions here in the chat I'm seeing about PCH. So PCH being closed, how should contractors access the Highlands is one question. How do residents access the area if they are in need of getting to their home? What are the rules around PCH? Can residents drive on it, or is it just emergency personnel? I'm going to invite Nathan Bass from Caltrans to go ahead and clarify again. What are the rules around PCH's closure?
As stated by the mayor, only authorized contractors who have been hired and have proof of work will be allowed, in addition to emergency workers such as utility companies and emergency responders. Palisades residents should be able to access the community via Chautauqua Boulevard using their passes, which will from this point on be permanent rather than daily. And to clarify, the closure starts at Chautauqua, so that is the access point.
Thank you. I see another question on. I'm going to ask John Vanacore, who is leading power restoration in the Palisades area, to come on. There are some questions regarding power. John, is there anything that you can say about an estimated time frame or anything more about power restoration tonight?
So the one thing I can tell you, Jen, is that we are assessing each area individually. There is many that are still out. We did get approximately 4,000 homes that were still standing back on, but each area that is currently underway as we speak is primarily in the higher damaged area. So we do have crews working 7 days a week, 16 hours a day. There's over 120 linemen out there, and we are doing our best to get the larger areas back on as quickly as possible. So I don't have an actual date for you because each group is taking a unique amount of time based on the amount of damage. So I hope that satisfies your question. I apologize for not having a better answer, but that's the truth.
Well, we understand that you and your crews are working as hard as you can. I see Caltrans Nathan Bass has his hand up. Would you like to say something further, Nathan?
Yeah, I wanted to clarify, reviewing my notes. It will be only utility and emergency response workers allowed on PCH. The contractors will be excluded, but they will be able to access the Palisades with their passes.
Excellent. Thank you so much. I'm seeing a question here in the chat regarding or directed to LA County Public Health from Paul Maybaum. The question is, can public health put out an official statement corroborating so that insurance companies have guidance as to the health hazards which prevent homeowners from returning to their properties? Insurance companies want everyone to return ASAP so they can discontinue payments for displacement as a result of these hazards. Public health team, can you please provide an answer to what can be provided by the County Department of Public Health in regards to insurance?
Yeah, no, thanks for the question. Really, really good question. We in public health have been engaging with the State Insurance Commissioner's Office with the help of Supervisor Horvath and Supervisor Barger. We're in active discussions, sharing the information that we've shared with you all with the insurance commissioner and insurance companies. And we hope to continue that discussion to ensure the safety of all involved.
Thank you very much. Okay, we have another question in the chat from David Schultz. He's asking for what help is the government going to provide to rebuild? He's indicating that each individual homeowner on their own hiring contractors is going to take far too long. We do have the Army Corps of Engineers on the line this afternoon. Colonel Brian Saucer, could you come on and please answer that question?
Yeah, so the Army Corps of Engineers has been tasked by FEMA as the governing federal agency for debris removal. And so we will be working with the public that opt in to perform debris removal without charge. And so in terms of the rebuild process, I would have to defer to city and county officials on how that would go. Over.
Thank you, Colonel. Okay, yes, I was reading that question as related to debris removal, but you're right, it was related to rebuild. So Army Corps is focused on the debris removal. I will share one question for Army Corps that is related to debris removal, which is our home survived, but we have several neighbors who unfortunately lost theirs. Should we wait until the remediation and the debris removal occurs from our neighbors' homes in order to move back in? Army Corps, as well as County Public Health, could you please respond to that question?
Yeah, so I'll go very quickly so we can give it to County Public Health. The Army Corps of Engineers takes public health and safety as a top priority for us during debris removal. But for recommendations on families that are still in standing homes, I would defer to Public Health.
County Public Health.
We are aware from our Army Corps partners that every effort is being made, as they did in Maui and other fires during both phase 1 and especially phase 2, to prevent the aerosolization of ash and toxic debris as they remove the debris. There's a very specific process that they have described. Even with that, it is important to take precautions if you are in the neighborhood, in your residence, and their properties around you being remediated. As I discussed earlier, it would be best not to be outdoors if you can avoid it when such remediation activities are actively happening proximate to your property, and there may be the risk of ash aerosolizing. In general, you want to take precautions of wearing an N95 or a P100 respirator mask if that is going on and you have to be outdoors.
Yeah, so and I'll just piggyback on that just real quick. So procedurally, what we do when we're performing this debris removal, we use a wet method. So before any debris is disturbed, we essentially soak the site with water to prevent any or mitigate as much transfer into the air as possible. We wear air monitors on our persons for our personnel that are working at the site, and then we will also set up air monitoring stations around the actual job site itself. And then tertiary to that, we will also have a standoff location or two by which, if there is a single standing home that is in vicinity the job site, we will also monitor at that location as well, or maybe a public site, senior citizens home or library or any other still standing structure near some of the work that's being performed. And then we share that data with public health at all times. Thank you.
Thank you. And Colonel, we have one more question for you, our last question of the night, since we promised to keep this about a half an hour. Regarding debris removal, how will the Corps coordinate with property owners so they can be on hand and nearby during debris removal? Could you please answer that?
Yeah, so if a property owner through the right of entry process at the LA County Public Works website, so recovery.lacounty.gov, if you go there and you submit a ROE and you elect for the Army Corps to perform the work for you, then you will get into essentially what we call the runway pattern. And so as we get close to your property, we will contact all property owners 3 to 5 days before we're on site. And then we will have communication that is with a real live human being that will be communicating with you. And then as we come up to the portion when we're going to be at your site, then you will be invited to be there if you elect. You do not have to be there. It's purely the election of the homeowner. They can be there the whole day if they would like, or they can be there for 15 minutes at a safe distance monitoring our work. I hope that answers the question.
It does. Thank you so much. And we will go ahead and move to close at this point, first starting with any closing remarks from Councilmember Park, and then Mayor Bass will give you the last word.
Just want to let folks know once again, we are here to help. I know there were a lot of questions in the chat that we didn't get answers to tonight. Lots of valid questions. So continue to reach out to us and the mayor's team. And we'll work to try to get as much of that information gathered for you and out through as many channels as we can. Appreciate all of you who are attending these sessions and working within your own networks to help convey information as well. So just keep following along and engaging with us, and we're all going to be here with you every step of the way to get us all through the road ahead. So thanks again, guys. We'll see you again soon. Bye.
And thank you, everyone. Following my colleague, Councilwoman Park, Let me just join in and say I see a lot of the questions as well. And one of the things that we are preparing to get out to you is a FAQ, frequently asked questions, so that we can respond to the many, many questions you have. And I know this is so difficult because you're hearing information from so many sources. And at the same time, things change. And we want to keep up with it and to make sure that you get the up-to-date information to try to address the confusion. You will be hearing more from me later this week. We will give a status report on how everything is going, what's been done, and of course, all that remains. Thank you very much and look forward to communicating with you later this week.
Thank you, everybody. We'll go ahead and announce, as well as Mayor Bass announced earlier, that we do have a small business wildfire recovery webinar that will be hosted with multiple city departments as well as the Small Business Administration on Thursday, February 6th. That's this Thursday, 11 a.m. to 12 noon. Please use this QR code to register or go to the bit.ly website that you see on your screen. We'll go ahead and leave that up and answer a few more questions, but this concludes the programmatic part of our webinar. Thank you, everybody, so much, and have a great evening.